Hey guys, welcome back to the Bond Report. My name is Chris, aka The Bearded Blofeld. Today I am joined with two additional contestants from the television show on Amazon Prime. That's right, 007 Road to a Million. Please welcome Josh and Kamara. Hey guys, how we doing?
Hi.
Fantastic. Finally meeting Chris, the legend.
I gotta say, we're looking very sharp this morning. We're looking very attentive.
We have to be with you on, so
I'm glad you understand the mission here, Josh. Okay, guys. So tell me a little bit about yourselves. I mean, I know that like for everybody at home, maybe who knows a little bit about you guys, but I know we all kind of know that you are youth workers based out of London. You guys have been married now. You have three beautiful children. Um, Kamara, I'm gonna start with you. Tell us a little bit about like what your kind of daily life is like.
Oh, okay. We're not youth workers at the moment, so I'm a not anymore anyway.
Oh,
So we met as youth workers. Yeah, so that's what it is. We met as youth workers. So I'm a project coordinator. And I kind of put on events and projects for people within the community to help benefit them within their lives. So anything to do with their mental health, their physical health, their well-being in general. So I do that during the week, and I've got my three children. Well, we've got our three children, and as a mum,
love it. I
working.
get it. And mom is definitely that is a hard job.
Yeah.
I've watched many friends grow up as single parents, and having a partner alone is a huge help. So I get it.
And I've got to deal with Josh as well. He's
So
kids.
you basically you have four children. Yes, I
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
that. He's like, wait a minute. I'm teasing, man. Okay, so Josh, what about you? What are you doing these days?
I manage a team of officers who support people back into employment and training. So very community orientated, social impact kind of thing. Other than that, I've also got four kids that I have to look after. Um, no, no.
Understandably.
Three beautiful children between us. They are our lifeline, and everything we do is for them, to be honest. Yeah.
I've got to add that they're young ages, so they're 6, 5, and 4, so back to back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I gathered that you basically did them all in a row there, but there's there's a specialness to that because they all grow up together. They're all tight niched, and you as the parents also can just kind of like knock it all out in one fell swoop.
That wasn't the plan, but we yeah, kind
Yeah.
of yeah.
Sure, Josh.
Yeah.
Sure. Josh, tell me now. I heard you actually grew up in kind of a rougher part of town, and you went through a pretty traumatic situation. And you talk about it a little bit on the show, but you actually got. Correct me if I'm wrong. You got stabbed at one point. Is that correct?
We both grew up in some of the rough parts of London, and as you can imagine New York at that. London is similar scale. There's deprivation in various areas, and both of us kind of grew up in those pockets. And I got exposed to. I grew up with that. That was my life. Growing up in huge housing, social housing estates where there's a lot of drug dealing, crime, etc. And this incident in particular, I just kind of happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was actually helping somebody else, one of my friends, his mum. I was just dropping her back home. It was late, and I took a few corners, alleyways, and there was rivalry. There was three of them, and they just jumped me, and yeah, it kind of changed my life, amongst many other things. But it's one of the things that kind of changed my life in terms of my confidence. My biggest thing was after having our three children, like I was on extreme alert kind of thing. I'm on extreme alert all the time, thinking I need to safeguard them at all costs.
No, I get that. I have a child of my own, and there's nothing that you think about more than that protection factor, especially as us being the men in the house. That's just something that's ingrained into us. But man,
Absolutely.
that's a wild situation. And I'm glad to see, obviously you're okay today physically. Did you at least get a cool scar out of it? Like, does it say like, hi or like something crazy?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I consider myself very fortunate to be able to tell my story, and I hope
Yeah.
more than anything, I inspire others to think that no, don't close the doors. There's a big world out there. Be
Yeah.
your own Bond and get out there and be adventurous. Dare yourself. Don't stop yourself. Don't allow challenges and barriers to stop you. You know, fight your fears and get out there and see the world.
Yeah. Live your life.
Yeah,
Don't
live
let
your
don't
life.
let don't
Absolutely.
let fear and things like that hold you back. Get out there
Yeah,
and, like you said, do it. That's
100%.
awesome. That's an awesome mantra to have, man. I'm glad to hear that this is something that has motivated you to push yourself harder. That's fantastic. Now, I mean, obviously, knowing this situation, obviously you can handle yourself in some dangerous situations. I think it would only be proper if I actually offered you an application perspective.
I'm down.
We're always looking for new agents of Spectre. So, Josh, before you leave today, I'll make sure you have an application.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I'm down.
Perfect. Okay, guys, we're going to jump right in here to the questions. Question one, and I think this one's on a lot of people's minds because if you've seen the show, I'm not going to give too many spoilers away, but if you have seen the show, you understand that these two had some very special dynamics with animals. And there was one scene in particular that really did kind of have me on the edge of my seat. And that was you guys were in Gravina, Italy. You have to break into this crazy looking, almost like seance apartment, kitchen environment. There's candles everywhere, very eerie. And on the table, we've got a brown tarantula, and not like, guys, not like a little baby. No, we're talking like a full. This thing was huge. Yeah, on Josh knows. He was there. That was a big boy. So tell us about that experience and what was going through your mind, Mara. And I want to hear you start this off because you kind of were like the champion here. Josh, you were holding the box, I get it, but you're out there like wrangling and like like you really had a lot on your plate on the other end of that box. So tell us about that experience.
Oh my gosh, honestly, like I was shaking like a leaf. I like can see, like when I've watched it back, I can see the cards that I had in my hand literally shaking. And I'm like, I was honestly shaking, petrified. Like at one stage I was like, it's not real, it's cool. Like thinking that it's just a toy, it's just a prop. I was like, yeah, it's nothing there. And then when I realized that it was real, I was like, nah, I'm not, I was honestly just shocked. But it was, it's like that thing, it had to be done, innit? And it was just that thing of we actually have to do it. So even though I couldn't actually feel myself, like I just felt like these little balls of sweat just building up on me, and I'm just like, okay, I have to do this. I can feel the adrenaline, and I'm like, no, yeah, this is crazy. But the funniest thing is when it jumps off the scales.
I know
When it jumped off the scales,
it did too.
yeah, literally. And it was so funny because like we saw like production jump back.
The whole crew.
Yeah, so like the whole group jumped back, was like, whoa, what's happening here? And I think that it was that whole thing of, all right, how are we going to get this back on? And it was, I don't know, we like, it's weird. Me and Josh just had this kind of synergy of, okay, we know what to do. We don't have to talk about it. We just need to kind of get it back on the box. But when it jumped off on the table, we were like, what do we do now? But it was just do it. It was just do it. And it was, yeah. And my legs went completely after, and I actually dropped. Like my legs were jelly. As soon as the lid was back on the box, my legs were jelly and I just dropped.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, yeah, that was hard.
I think we all felt that with you because when you did drop, and guys, when you see this at home, she does. It's like a straight almost like a collapse. And I was like, I'm right there with you, girl. I feel it. I get it.
Yeah,
Like,
but
whoo.
yeah, definitely that. But it's funny seeing it being played back now, because in that, like, there was like full on, me and Josh were just like back and forth with each other, like, yeah, behind, like, yeah. So while it was getting done, it was like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth of
Right.
how we're gonna do it. But yeah, it was nice to see how it got played out. It was, yeah, it was a hard one. That was a really hard task.
Yeah, I can imagine. You guys, I'll tell you what though, as a team, you came together, and it was like you said, it was like that synergy. You both knew your roles. Josh, you had the box. You're like, okay, I'm on box duty. I got this. Kamara's over here corralling, like wrangling a spider. No big deal. It's just another Tuesday.
Yeah.
And, like, you guys really made it work. And I thought it was genius too. And I want to point out, and Kamara, kudos to you. When you got to the scale situation, you took the time and you thought about, let's put the 50 kilogram, was it? I think it was kilograms. Yeah. You're like, no, you did the math in your head real fast. You were like, no, 50 kilograms, that's going to make the most sense to balance them out. We're going to make this happen. Okay, this, and boom, boom, boom. Let's do it. Get the gloves on.
Yeah, but it's so funny because Josh, like, as I'm saying it, this is like, Josh was just like, yeah, like, it was just he's concentrating so much on the spider. It was so, like, when I watch it back, I'm like, it's actually hilarious because he's concentrating so much on the spider, and he's like, yeah, whatever you're saying, yeah, okay, cool, because the spider was just that was, yeah, mad.
Tell us at home, what were some of your biggest struggles off camera? Because we see a lot of the struggles on camera, but we also know, everybody at home who's seen the show, we know that there was a lot cut out of the show just for time.
Yeah.
And even though you were one of the four main couples that were focused on in the show, I know there had to be some moments that you guys were sitting there going, I don't know if I can do this. So, Josh, kick us off with that. Tell me, what was those struggles like?
Personally, what we think that the production team did an amazing job of capturing the most important stuff. There is a lot of fluff, and that's a given. You're making a huge series, and there will be all these extra times, and all these things that you have editors have to decide which bits to put in and which not. And I think they did it justice. I think they captured some of the best moments and the most important moments. 72 films. Listen, the perfect production team to have taken on this project.
Were they able to, in like any of those dark situations or in those tough times, were they able to step in and help you guys at all, or were they extremely hands off?
Throughout the whole process, they left us to our devices because that's the whole objective of what we're doing. Guys, here you go. This is your platform. And in essence, that's where people open up and show what they're capable of or not capable of. So if you don't allow that to happen, then it's not going to happen. So and that was the beauty of it. They allowed that platform to, like, listen, guys, here you go. This is the situation. Go with it.
I think in terms of like the safety and stuff like that, obviously there's a lot of, so like when we've rocked up to a particular challenge and we're like, oh my God, like what the hell is going on here, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think behind the scenes, it was like the safety and all of that is 100%. Like we are safe in whatever we're doing, basically, and there's no risk in that sense. And I think in our minds, because we're like, oh my God, we've got to do this, that's a big challenge on us, like, oh my God, how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that? But I would say that the production, the crew and everything, we're really on hand to make sure that they would encourage us and make us feel comfortable with that. Don't worry, you're safe. Like, it's that kind of thing. But again, the fear is there. So even though they're saying that, it doesn't matter. I'm like, I'm not hearing what you're saying. I've got to do this sort of thing. I think that was the challenges, like behind scenes, is trying to get over that kind of stuff. And then again, for us in particular, it was, we don't have any contact. You don't have contact. Well, with all the contestants, you don't have contact with anyone outside, like outside that. So we don't have any contact with our children. And that was really hard for us because we'd never left the kids before. They'd never stayed overnight anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
had to
Yeah.
come onto this journey. So it was very difficult for us to, but that's something else that we struggled with, was that whole thing of, are the kids all right? As you know, as a parent, it's that whole constant worry, and we don't have
Yeah.
that. Obviously there was an update to let us know kids are fine. If there was any emergency that happened, we would know about that. But in
Yeah.
general, every day picking up the phone that can't happen, obviously. And it was that was hard for us. That was very hard for us. Yeah. I
I
think
can
that was
imagine.
the biggest challenge. Yeah, that was the biggest challenge for us, I think, behind the scenes.
Yeah, you gotta convince yourself to just push through and go on. But I mean, as a parent, I completely understand, Kamara. Like what you were saying is like, especially when they're young like that, you're like, what if something happened and I
Yeah,
don't know about it and I'm not there to help them or take care or comfort them?
yeah,
And for anybody who's a parent at home, I'm sure you can all relate to that as well. And that's definitely a struggle. That's definitely a challenge to overcome in itself. So kudos to you guys, man. That because you did, if it happened, if it was going on, if it was in your mind, you kept that to yourself. That was not something that you projected out into the show. Josh, we're gonna kick it off with you on this one. Tell us, considering you guys got to travel, I know, right? Considering you guys got to travel as much as you did, of all the locations you went to and everything, what was your favorite location? What was your least favorite? You can tell me one, you can tell me the other. And Kamar, we're gonna get to you, so I want you thinking on this one. But what did you think?
I always say this. Every single location was breathtaking, amazing, and each one had its own beauty. So, for example, the Highlands. I always say this. I can still visualize the waves of the grass, the 5 feet tall grass on top of the mountains, just blowing in the wind. I could still see that, the beauty of the Highlands. Italy, oh, picturesque, medieval, that just the scenes from Bond, like, it was just chilly. Whoo, chilly. Wow. Wow. Like that
Yeah.
takes you what, like wildlife, as in the sense of, I remember the Atacama Desert was deafeningly silent. Like coming back to London, everything was too loud. It was just like, and that's how beautiful Chile was, the Atacama Desert. Jamaica, back to Kamara's home. That Jamaica was just a blessing. Like, it was
Yeah.
just the tropics, the Caribbean, the weather, riding down on a Vespa. The least, I have to think about that, Chris, because honestly, yeah, I'd say probably the Highlands, just because it's in the UK, and you don't need a passport to get there. But for us anyway,
Right.
so, yeah. But other than that notion, all the locations were amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. They went all out on a lot of the locations to really make it as epic and as grand as they could.
Yeah.
Kamar, what about you?
I would say, oh, it's a really hard one. I think Chile, because I don't think that would be on one of my bucket lists. So that was a big surprise for us. So Chile was something completely different that I wouldn't have necessarily thought about if we were to go somewhere. And like as Josh said, it was quite deafening. So the silence was so deafening. It was crazy because you're so high up. There's nothing around you. It is like you hear a ring, like a beep in your ear constantly because it's so silent. So when you've come back into like civilization, it is so like you're like, wow, this is really loud. Like that was crazy. And the weather as well with it's the sun is right on you, and we got sunburnt.
Oh, it's
Like,
three,
and it's
Oh
freezing.
no.
4 layers.
Yeah, like we've got like
How
so
does that
many.
make sense?
Yeah, so that was the weirdest thing. It's like it didn't actually make sense because the sun's completely out all the time, but then you're freezing cold. So
Yeah.
it was a weird one. It was, and oh, the stars at night. So in London we don't see stars, and we saw shooting stars. I saw a shooting star. I'd never seen one before. So that was like a really good experience for me. I think I wouldn't say worst. I just say I was cold, so it was
So it was the best and the worst. It was the most beautiful, but it was also the most treacherous because it was
yeah.
freezing and I got sunburned from the reflection of the snow.
So it was, yeah, so it was crazy. And like the snow, like with in Switzerland, it was beautiful, like burning. Like you look at the snow and the reflection of the sun, you're just like, it's blinding. So it was so beautiful, but I found it difficult because I was so cold. My toes were just always cold, my hands were cold, and
Yeah, it's
like
like minus
beard,
15.
yeah, Josh's beard got icicles in it. So it was just so funny. Like, so that was hard.
Imagine Chris's moustaches. Oh wow, in
Yeah.
Switzerland.
It would ice up.
Yep. Have some icicles hanging off. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, it sounds like you had a great time either way. And I get it. When you're in paradise, is there really a bad place to be? I mean, you on this grand trip, I get it. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. But now we have reached the point of the program where I have to ask you the evil question. Going back to the Swiss Alps, you're both kitted out in a very famous Bond brand with Bogner. But one of the brands that most people won't know, and I actually had to look this up myself, you actually had to use a laser rifle. And this laser rifle was the German Anschutz laser powered for biathlon master. That was the rifle that you guys had. That's a mouthful. Tell us about the rifle itself, because, and without giving spoilers away, what was it like to shoot that thing? Because it seemed like a lot of the contestants struggled with that device. And what was the scope like? What was it like to handle? The reset was a little weird. Tell us about that.
We were so consumed in the task. I I was happy to be holding something that it was so cool, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it just felt so fitting. I felt uh James Bond X, like
Mm,
you know, like serious. I'm now doing an actual task of I've never
right,
done
right,
it before, and it was
right.
just yeah, for me it was yeah, it was so fitting, especially with the environment around us as well. It just suited it all.
Yeah, very hazardous.
Yeah,
I I think it was quite difficult to do that challenge. Obviously, all the challenges are not set to be easy. Let's put it
yeah,
like that. They're not supposed
Right.
to be easy. So in that setting as well, or you have to take your hands out of your gloves to get a good grip. So our hands were cold as well. So that was one thing that I kind of was just like, oh my God, because then like your fingers are like just freezing up while you're doing it. And then the reset as well, the pointing and angle, because I've never ever done any type of shooting, even in a fun fair or anything. I've never done anything like that.
Wow.
So it was it was really just like, I need to really zone in. I need to just try and do this sort of thing. And like Josh was really, really good at saying, like, look, I was like, I'm just gonna stand up. And he was like, no, if you sit down and you position yourself on the table or here and like you've got like you're stable. So
Yeah.
that was really good. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it was tricky just to kind of what did we do? It was like reload, didn't it? Not reload, but
yeah,
we had to,
The reset of the laser
yeah, the
basically is like a
reset.
reload. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had to like do that, and that was really, and then obviously we had to pass it along to make sure. So then it was difficult because you might be in a flow of things, but you have to
Mhm.
make sure you have to pass it on so the other person gets a turn as well. So that was just like, yeah, it was a very hard challenge.
no, I was gonna say that the outfits, mine and Kamara's, just like oh, they're really good quality. Like kept us seriously warm. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it's yeah, good stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Wagner knows what they're doing when it comes to snowsuits. They've been a big name in the ski industry for a long time now.
Wow.
So yeah. But no, I figured the environment played a huge role in that because I do have years of shooting under my belt and experience with various different guns. So watching you guys go through this, I'm like, they're freezing cold, they're shaking. It's it's not a real gun, it's a laser rifle, so you've got that jitter involved of like, man, if you're off a military, and the distance they had you guys at was impressive. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming in today. How can everyone at home find you? Tell us, are we on social media? Where can they find you if they want to follow you?
Josh and Kamara at Josh and Kamara is our Instagram handle. So definitely, please follow us. You know, Kamara's definitely funny, but I'm even more funnier.
We've
So
also got we've just set it up anyway, but it's a Twitter account. Sorry, Twitter? No, TikTok.
TikTok,
yes,
okay.
TikTok, yeah.
yes,
So we've also got a TikTok account which is also at Josh and Kamara.
yeah.
Okay, and guys, I'll leave links for all of their socials down in the description. That way, if you want to follow them, those will be right there for you as well. Guys, thanks again so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it. For everybody at home, thanks so much for watching. And as always, Merry Christmas, 007.